My name is Camille Hargrove, and if you asked anyone in my family to describe me, they would say something like, "Oh, Camille, she's the difficult one," or maybe, "Camille was always so sensitive, my personal favorite." We just never really understood her. Funny how that works, because I understood all of them perfectly. And I want to ask you something before I even get into this. Have you ever been the person in your family that everyone had an explanation for? Not a conversation with, not an apology, just an explanation. A label they passed around at dinner tables when you weren't in the room. If you know what that feels like, stay with me, because this story is for you. I understood my mother Gloria, the woman who could quote scripture at breakfast and cut you down to nothing by dinner. I understood my older sister Diana, who wore the title of Golden Child like a crown she was terrified of losing. I understood my younger brother Marcus, who was so busy being the baby that he never noticed the house he was standing in was built on everyone else's silence. I understood all of them, and for a long time, I thought understanding was enough. It wasn't. My father died on a Tuesday in October. I know that sounds like the beginning of something sad, and it was. But what I remember most about that week isn't the grief, it's the look on my mother's face when the lawyer read the will. That small, satisfied smile she tried to hide behind a tissue. Diana got the house. Marcus got the business. I got a check that wouldn't cover 3 months of rent, and my father's Bible with my name written inside the cover in his handwriting. I held that Bible in my lap, and I didn't cry, not because I wasn't hurting. I was hurting so deeply. I felt hollow. But I'd learned a long time ago that tears in that family were just ammunition. You show emotion, Gloria finds a way to use it against you before the week is out. So I sat still. I thanked the lawyer. I hugged my siblings. I kissed my mother on the cheek. And at the reception afterward, I overheard her telling my Aunt Bernice Camille was never really close to her father. It's sad, but it's the truth. Think about that for a second. Has someone ever described your relationship with a person you loved to other people in a way that was so wrong? It felt like a second loss, like they were burying something that was still alive. I stood in the corner of that room, holding a plate of food I wasn't going to eat, and I made a decision, not out of anger. Anger burns fast and leaves you with nothing. I made it out of clarity. I was done being the one this family stepped on to reach each other. I need you to hear something about the way I moved after that day. I didn't blow up. I didn't send long text messages at midnight. I didn't show up at Sunday dinner with an attitude or make scenes that would let Gloria paint me as unstable. That was the trap. That's always been the trap. React, get labeled, get dismissed. The family narrative stays intact, and you look like the problem. I'd played that role my whole life without knowing it. So I changed the rules, and here is where I need you to pay attention. Because this part is the part most people skip. Most people want confrontation, the dramatic scene, the moment where you finally say everything you've been holding. I understand that, but I promise you, the confrontation is for your feelings. The plan is for your future. I chose my future. The first thing I did, I found a lawyer, not a family friend, not someone Gloria could call, a real estate and estate attorney who had no ties to anyone I knew. I brought him every document I had, the will, financial records I'd quietly kept over the years, medical records from my father's final months, showing his mind was slipping. Around the time the will was last changed, I wasn't sure what I had yet, but I knew something wasn't right. The second thing I did was called Uncle Raymond. Uncle Raymond was my father's oldest brother, and the one person in the extended family who never pretended. He'd been quietly distant from Gloria for years, and I never fully understood why, until I sat across from him at his kitchen table, and he looked at me and said, "I wondered when you were going to come. Tell me, do you have an Uncle Raymond in your life? Someone on the outside of your family who always saw the truth, but never had a reason to say it out loud yet? If you do, call them. Seriously, Sometimes the person who holds your missing pieces has just been waiting for you to ask. He told me things that filled in gaps I'd been staring at my whole life. The way Gloria controlled my father's relationships with his own family, the conversations that were discouraged, the narrative she'd built around each of us children. Diana the success, Marcus the joy, Camille the burden, and how carefully she maintained it, even with people outside the house. I recorded nothing that day. I just listened, and I went home, and I wrote everything down. The third thing I did, it was the most important. I made sure I needed nothing from them. I picked up extra work. I moved into a smaller apartment, and stacked my savings. I paid off the one debt I had. I made myself financially free, because I knew that the moment this family sensed you needed something from them, they used it. Money was Gloria's second language. Control was her first. Being financially free isn't just about money. It's about removing the leash. Remember that. By the time I had no need of either, I was ready. I kept going to Sunday dinners. I know that might surprise you. Drop a comment. Would you have kept going? Or would you have cut them off completely? Because people are always divided on this. And honestly, both answers make sense, depending on your situation. But for me, disappearing would have given Gloria a story to tell. Camille cut off the family. She was always unstable. I wasn't going to hand her that. So I showed up. I brought my sweet potato pie. I laughed at the right moments. I let Gloria perform her warmth for whoever happened to be visiting. I watched. About 8 months in, I asked Marcus a question at dinner. Casual, almost bored. Hey, how are the quarterly numbers looking? Daddy always said Q3 was the hard one. Marcus laughed it off. But I saw something flicker behind his eyes. He called me 3 weeks later. Turns out, when Marcus actually sat down and went through the business finances, the picture wasn't clean. Money had been moved around, not stolen dramatically, just quietly moved around over a long period of time, in ways that were easy to miss if you weren't looking carefully. Marcus was many things, but he wasn't a fool. He just never had a reason to look before he confronted Gloria privately. I wasn't in that room. I don't know exactly what was said, but I know that after that conversation, Gloria called me, and her voice had a different quality to it. Less certain, like a woman who had just realized the ground had shifted slightly under her feet. Without knowing how, she asked me if I'd been talking to people about family business. I told her I loved her, and I'd see her Sunday. My lawyer called me on a Wednesday morning. We had enough. The will had been changed 14 months before my father died. During a period where his doctor's notes showed his mind was slipping, Uncle Raymond was willing to provide a formal statement about things he'd seen and heard. There were red flags that a court would find very interesting. I'll be honest about that, because I know someone reading this right now is thinking, I would have taken it all the way. And maybe you would have. Maybe you should have. In your situation, every story is different, but for me, this was never about destruction. It was about corrections. The point was for Gloria to know that I knew. We requested a private meeting, me, my lawyer, and Gloria, with her own lawyer. Diana and Marcus weren't there. This wasn't about them. I sat across from my mother in that conference room, and I watched her face as my lawyer laid out everything carefully, quietly, without drama, just facts and documentation laid out in a very specific order. She looked at me once, really looked at me, and I think, for the first time in my life, she saw me clearly. Not the difficult one, not the sensitive one, not the burden. She saw someone who'd been paying attention the whole time. We reached an agreement outside of court. I received my legal and rightful share, the family property, where my father used to take me fishing on early Saturday mornings. The one that had mysteriously been left out of the formal distribution was transferred to my name. I signed the paperwork, and I walked out of that building into the afternoon sun, and I sat in my car for about 10 minutes, doing absolutely nothing. Then I drove to Uncle Raymond's house, and we had dinner. Gloria was never publicly humiliated. I need you to know. That was a choice. Not weakness. A choice. Public humiliation would have made me the villain. In a new story she would have told forever. It would have given her something to perform around. Playing the victim was her specialty. Instead, she just became smaller. Diana found out through the legal process that certain things Gloria had said about her, over the years, to relatives, to family friends, were not the things a proud mother says. The golden child discovered. The crown had always been a control mechanism. Watching Diana process that was its own kind of painful to witness. If you have a Diana in your life, someone who benefited from the system, without even knowing they were part of it, I'm not telling you to forgive quickly. I'm just saying, sometimes they're also a victim, wearing a different costume. Sit with that. Think about whether the person you resent was actually handed a cage that just looked prettier than yours. Marcus stopped letting things slide. He became more careful, more present in his own life. The Sunday dinners still happen. Gloria still makes her roast, but the room has a different feeling now. Like everyone is finally speaking at a normal volume. After years of whispering around one person, I host my own dinners now. Thursday evenings. Uncle Raymond comes every week. Marcus started coming a few months ago. Diana came twice. I think she'll keep coming. My place is small, but it feels like the first room I've ever been in. That was completely mine. I put my father's Bible on the shelf by the window, where the light hits it in the morning. That's enough. People always want to know, do I regret any of it? The patience, the years, the planning. No. But here's what I want to leave you with. And I mean this, not as a lesson, just as something I wish someone had told me earlier. If you're the scapegoat in your family right now, the one who gets blamed, labeled, explained away, I need you to hear this. Your silence isn't the same as acceptance. Your patience isn't the same as weakness. And the clarity you're building right now, even if nobody sees it yet, is the most dangerous thing you own. Don't announce your moves. Don't seek their validation. Don't wait for an apology before you start building. And if this story felt like something you've lived, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Not for me, for them. Because somewhere right now, there's a Camille, sitting at a Sunday dinner table, holding a plate of food she isn't going to eat. And she just needs to know. The story doesn't end there. The quiet ones always win in the end. She didn't burn the house down. She just stopped holding it up.